Saturday morning cold start. Oh, water's actually 73. That'll do. The alternator charging. All right, let's get this thing outside. Well, good morning. We're back working on the 37. It's running really well. Getting close, but at this point I got a few safety things I want to take care of just to make tech at the track. I've got to do some measuring on the lug studs in the rear because I know they need to be a little bit longer to get outside of the wheel. And the oh yeah, I got to figure out how I'm going to do a cutoff switch because the battery's in the trunk and you're supposed to have a cutoff switch for that kind of stuff. A few other little piddly things here and there, nothing major, but she's just about ready to go to the track. I need to get the slicks out, put some screws in the rims so that the slicks don't slip and tear the tubes. That's just drudge, nothing major there, nothing really entertaining. And then I got to figure out long term, I've been trying to think about how to design the trailer hitch for this monster. But I tell you, I'm excited. Yesterday was my birthday. I'm a big 5-0. 71 was a good year, I guess, depending on how you think about it. But Tom Bailey, who is entrepreneur, man about town, racer extraordinaire, runs a couple of different Camaros that are capable of low sixes or high fives in the quarter mile at 250-ish miles an hour. Crazy stuff. But he runs them on the street and does these kind of events that I want to do with this little slow thing. And he is putting on an event in Florida in February. He's calling it Sick Week because his whole theme is Sick Seconds, S-I-C-K, because that's what his car runs. And it sounds fantastic. It sounds like it's going to be an exceptional event. He's really putting in the work, and looking at the quality of his other stuff that he does, I'm betting that this is, at a minimum, going to be close to those standards, so I'm thinking it's going to be pretty solid. I'm really hoping to get an invite to that event. I've got Dad signed on to be my co-pilot. He built this car back in '98, and I think it's going to be fantastic. I think my mom and my wife are going to follow along in the sick ward, which will be the people who don't race necessarily but still want to do the whole event. The venues sound unbelievable, and I think it's going to be a great time. This car should be easily ready by then. It's close to ready now, other than the transmission, which I haven't received from Gearstar yet, but that should be in the next couple of weeks. And that shouldn't be too bad because it's just a Chevy, so how hard can it be? Anyway, so today, that's kind of what I need to do. We're going to be doing a little bit more work. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about this kind of stuff, Tom is also publishing a magazine called, of course, Sick the Magazine. And that's, I believe, Sick the Mag, or sickthemagazine.com is where you can find that. It's really impressive. It's not terribly cheap, but it is an impressive magazine on some very high quality stock, where he covers, and his team covers, all of the events for this kind of stuff, and tries to get everybody involved in the magazine. So I was one of the early subscribers, maybe the first 550, 600 people who subscribed to it back in June, and I got my first big issue, several hundred pages, absolutely amazing. It's a coffee table book. He's doing that quarterly, so I'm anxiously awaiting the next issue, which will be the Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0 and Drag Week issue. But I'll put links to all that down in the description below. And really, just unbelievable stuff. I think this sport is kind of crazy. Nobody understands it. You try to tell people what you're going to do with a car like this. This car was built, it's a show car originally. It was a little cruiser. But, conveniently, Dad was not of the just slap a small block Chevy in a turbo, or in a 400 in it, or a, that 700 R4 in it, and then go from there. He actually put a big block and a 400 in it. So we're going to make this into something that should be fairly entertaining, albeit, you know, there's no roll bar in it, so it's restricted to 1150s, which though, you know, 1150s at 115, 120, that's still not bad for a car that's gonna, you know, tow a trailer and try to run around. And even beyond these events, my goal with this car is to use it more frequently than just 4 or 5 times a year, because I'm not going to go to all these events. This is a week off of work every single time. I don't have that much vacation. But I do have weekends free. And my thought was, once this is finished, to drive it with the trailer and all that in full trim to little tracks around here, you know, within 300, 400, 500 miles, drive it to the track, make some passes, tell the stories of these little tracks in the South, or wherever I can find, and just make that some YouTube content. I don't know, I'm interested in it. I'd like to see a lot of these tracks. Some of them are probably sketchier than others, but we'll see. But that's kind of my goal, is to use this on a more frequent basis in full dress, rather than trailering it somewhere and doing that. But anyway, so that's start of today's video. It's not going to be too much. I got to jack it up, pull the wheels off, take some measurements, or knock a stud out of it, do a few other little things. And then we're going to have to order some more parts. So, see you in a bit. Alright, so this is the issue. NHRA and IHRA rules require that the studs stick out at least a full diameter past the face of the wheel. And obviously this is a 1/2 inch stud. I think it's 1/20, and it doesn't barely do it on these. But the new wheels are actually thicker. It's kind of strange. The newer ones actually have more meat in here. So I'm going to pull this off. We're going to stick the slick on here, because I got to get them out anyway, and see what we need to do. Because I've got a pretty good long shank on this thing right now, because it's got that little spacer behind it for clearance. But these, that's kind of where I'm probably going to have to go with another 1/2 inch longer stud. And I may end up having to get some open-ended lug nuts, but I don't know. These are threaded. It's hard to even see. A decent ways down, but I'm probably going to have to get open-ended lug nuts for this thing, just because of the way it works. And then it's easier to tech as well, if people get concerned about that at different tracks. You never know what they're going to find, and I just know this is one thing that's not quite right, so it's something I can take care of. So we're going to finish pulling this off, get the slick on it, and see what it looks like. Alright, so you can see the difference with this new wheel. It's much beefier, and the studs don't stick out how they need to. So I need to find, basically I need to take a measurement, and really I think all I need to do is pop one of these studs out, because it's already just barely above, maybe 1/8 inch above that, and just add a 1/2 inch to it, and that's going to give me the right length stud. And that might actually even work with these lug nuts. We'll have to see. So we're going to pop the brake drum off and see what we need to do. It'll also make it a little easier to get these lug nuts started if they're a little further out, because centering those up is kind of sticky. But alright. Alright, so I think I'm going to be able to get these out without having to pull the axle. I'm going to try to find an old junky lug nut, get on there so I can use my pounder on it and get these pushed back out, because I was just going to order them, and then I found out that the knurled end that goes into the axle, there's different sizes of that. It's like, oh well, crap, I have no idea what size that is. So we're going to pound these out and pound one of them out and see what we got from a dimension. And since this is just old stock Ford stuff, pretty much, I'm wondering if my local auto parts store might have something that would work, which would make this kind of handy. So we're going to check it out. Alright, there it is. Not much to it. Cheesy old lug nut for the 14-inch wheels from the front. little bit of a pounder, and she is out. So yeah, just under a half. So that is a half 20. The hole diameter here we'll call that 600 thousandths. Yeah, 600. Now the knurl, I don't know if that's even going to matter. The knurl looks to be about 620. Overall length is 1,648. Seated depth. Alright, I gotta put this, I need 2 hands for this. Alright, seated depth. Is about 143. So that tells me I need right at about a seated depth of 2 inches. Or greater than 190, 190. Or greater than an overall length of 2.1. But the overall length only matters depending on how thick this is, so really the seated depth is the important part. So I'm going to go look and see what exists. Alright, new ones are on, old ones are out. A little butchery to get those things in, but they're all in, didn't strip any of them, and they're seated. So I think that's going to work. And we're going to slap the slick on and put a few of the my actual lug nuts on it and see what it looks like. And then we're going to put the regular tire on it and see if it'll still tighten up. I think it will, but we're going to hope. Alright, looks like they're going to work pretty well. I'm pretty happy with that. She's on, and we got a good extension past the face of the wheel, so that should make me legal about anywhere when it comes to these things. The store only had 5 in stock, but they're gonna get 5 more. Should be in this morning later. So we'll grab those and finish the other side later this afternoon. But yeah, so now, if they want to check the wheel studs, more than welcome, because they should be legal. Cool. Getting there. Another thing I'm procrastinating on, and if I'd had a plan when I wrecked this thing a few years ago and changed all the wheels and tires, I would have done this differently. But these are my old drag tires and drag wheels from 1995 when I built my Firebird, and I had put some screws in the rim to hold the slick, And I mean, it's just got street tires on it right now that are tubeless, so the screws are stupid, but at least it fills in the holes and whatever, so it doesn't look as bad. But now I've got my slicks on my brand new wheels, which actually fit a little bit better than the other ones in the car without a spacer, so that's more important to me. But being that it's just a tube, and now I've got 515, 540 some odd foot-pounds of torque and 410s, and these will probably stick. I'm concerned about twisting this thing because I don't like running much more than 10 or 12 psi, at least what I'm used to, and ripping the tube, which I really don't want to do, certainly at higher speeds. So I'm going to try to get these marked, punched, drilled, and screwed. Probably won't show much of that because I'll probably cry. That was one of the hardest things to do back in 1995. I can still remember the place I was living at the time. I had these in the living room. It was before I mounted anything on them, but taking a center punch and smacking your brand new wheel with a hammer, it's just, ugh. But it worked, and I never really had an issue. Of course, I only had 200 horsepower in the last car, too. So, we're going to try to do that on these. Yeah. So, I didn't really want to do all my measurements again, and those don't look too bad, so I made a template out of, well, something I have a lot of, and just kind of held it up there and tapped the position of the screws through the template, and then I used that to go around and just put some little red marks on the rim, approximately where I want to target my screws, and that should do it, hopefully. Save a little bit of time and aggravation rather than measuring both wheels like I did last time. So we're going to try it. Alright, I think that worked good enough. Got them in there. And it may not matter, but what the hell, at least it's done. So, cool, finished. Now we got one more to do. Alright, well, we got all of the lug nuts or lug studs changed out. Everything fits. Got my old spares, I guess. Now we're all, I guess, legal on that sense. Took some dimensions up front. The fan that I'm looking at for the front pusher, it's going to fit nicely. So that's on order, along with a battery disconnect switch and a few little odds and ends. And not much left. Not much left. Took Dad out for a ride in it. He hasn't ridden in it since I bought it 6 years ago. And ran good. Everything's perfect. The temperature's running good, fan's working, oil pressure's great, charging, ride's nice. Can't be stupid with it, and I still may look into some sort of different type of throttle pedal and maybe change your ankle angle, because the way that's set up right now, it's kind of crampy for long periods of time, having the throttle pedal as high off the floor as it is and as short as it is. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. Maybe nothing. Certainly for the short term, it's not that big a deal. But yeah, not bad. So hopefully, a couple, 3 weeks, and temperatures continue to cool down a little bit, we might be able to get this baby to the track. So again, we are preparing this car for Sick Week 2022 in February in Florida. I am so looking forward to that. Having Dad ride with me, and then Mom and maybe my wife as part of the sick ward following along. But we're in good shape. So hope you all are having a good day, and I will talk to you all later. Take care.